I'm Colleen Condon, and welcome to Porch Chats. This is a production of the Charleston County Democratic Party, so you can get to know our candidates better before the June 9th primary. Today, joining me is Daniel Brownstein, who's running for the State House. Welcome, Daniel.
Hey, thanks for having me, Colleen. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Oh, doing well. I'm back in my office today, and it kind of helps get me refocused, I gotta admit. Now,
I must admit it. I went to my office yesterday, and I have two small children, a six and an 8-year-old. So it's actually like vacation when I can go to my office. It's peace and quiet, and very productive time.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I know we're debating whether people should go back to work, and I certainly don't think people should be going back to work if they're endangered. But you and I know as Democrats that there are already a lot of people who never got a chance to stay at home and are endangering their lives every day.
It's true. I think that, this COVID-19 epidemic or pandemic has really exposed the fault lines in our society between sort of the privileged people who can afford to stay home from work and those that, have those essential jobs that maybe we didn't think were essential before all this. The people who are stocking grocery stores and working at the water plant and keeping the power and the internet on. It's exposed a lot about our society. I think that I hope moving forward we'll have more of a for the people who really keep our world and our society moving.
Absolutely. I mean, we need to make sure that the people who have been bravely going to work each day, whether purposely being brave or not having a choice, because they don't have as many employment options available, we need to make sure they're being kept safe as we're moving forward and not forgetting about them in these important phased reopening.
I think that we can all agree that they're worth a lot more than $7 an hour. I think those days of arguing about the minimum wage, whether to raise it or whether it's fine as it is, I think we can all agree that they're worth more than what we're paying them. And I think that after this is all done, we have an incredible opportunity to sort of renew and reset America and reset our priorities. I was talking to a friend last night who was telling me that, America is dead because of this. And I vehemently disagree. I think this is a tremendous opportunity for us to reset, renew, and relaunch a new America that doesn't leave as many folks behind. And this is the time that we can do it. It's going to take a big shake up to really make these things happen. And what more of a shake up can we possibly experience than our entire economy shutting down for a couple months?
So you're running for State House 112. If you get elected, is looking at this process going to be one of your priorities next year?
Absolutely. We've got 20 million people across the country that have filed for unemployment right now. I think about 200,000 of those are in South Carolina. And, some of those people are in my neighborhood. There's people who work at hotels and restaurants who are really struggling. And not to mention the small business owners who have been shut out of the PPP process in lieu of, bigger corporations that I wouldn't consider small business.
Right.
It's absolutely, I think everything's changed because of this. I think that we need to beef up DHEC, which, I was shocked to learn 20% of their pandemic and infectious disease staff has been let go since 2009. 20%.
Wow.
Just crazy. We need to fund them. We need people that are in the community doing testing. We need contact tracing. This really exposes a lot with the fact that we're tying our health insurance problem right now. All these people who've lost their jobs are suddenly without health insurance during a pandemic. So I think we're going to need to look at expanding Medicaid and working with the feds to create a system where people are able to get private or public health insurance.
Agreed. Now, State House 112 includes parts of Mount Pleasant, I know, but can you give us a little better description of the district area?
Sure. So it starts near Simmons Street and McCants, which is in Old Mount Pleasant, and it goes all the way down the McCants and Rifle Range corridor to Porch's Bluff. And then it sort of jumps over to 17, right around the area where 526 meets 17, and it goes down past Park West and into Carolina Park. And in addition to that, it also includes all of Sullivan's Island and Isle of Palms. So it's about 45,000 people in the district, and it's half of Mount Pleasant, all of Sullivan's, all of IOP.
And it's great because we have, of course, people running for every single seat in Mount Pleasant on the Democratic ticket. It's really a chance to show people that Mount Pleasant is changing. It's not quite what people might expect from history.
No, that's exactly correct. It's not the sleepy village that it once was. It's a place, that has 45,000 people from all over the place. Lots of new neighbors, lots of new neighborhoods. And I think that, with a strong upper part of the ticket, excuse me, with Joe Biden, Jamie Harrison, Joe Cunningham, it's a very important district for South Carolina. And I think that we have a real chance to flip it. And I'm kind of surprised that people outside of the party don't recognize that yet.
Yeah, unfortunately, I feel like there's been so little attention to looking out for the environment, conservation, long-term planning, that it's only taken very small efforts for some incumbents to get labeled as a conservationist when they don't meet that bill in my book. So
yeah, one of the motivating factors for me is this district has not had leadership for 10 years. We've had an incumbent Republican for 10 years. Where was he when we were fighting to defend our plastic bag ban? Where was he when little plastic pellets were washing up on our beaches? He's just been absent, and he's fortunately retiring, so we have a clean slate of candidates. I think it's really time for somebody to take charge and be available, be accessible, communicate with all of the voters, instead of just sort of cultivating your, good old boy network. We really need to listen to people from all stripes of life if we're going to move anything forward.
Oh, agreed. Well, Daniel, tell people more about you.
Sure. Well, I am the youngest candidate in the race on either side. I'm 38 years old. I have two children, a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old. They both go to Whitesides Elementary, which is on Rifle Range Road right here in the district. Married to my wife, Pamela. We met back in 2006. We both worked at the Island Packet newspaper down in the Hilton Head and Bluffton area. And she was a copy editor. I was a reporter. We started dating, and a few years later got married. From there, I went to the solicitor's office in Bluffton, the 14th Circuit, which covers a 5-county area that's sort of clustered around Beaufort, but also goes as far inland as Allendale. And while I was there, I was pretty instrumental in the solicitor getting grant money to start a bunch of different programs that were pretty innovative at the time. One being a violence against women prosecution team, and the other being a special court that addresses teenagers who have committed crimes and tries to pair them with social workers and counselors and substance abuse professionals to solve that underlying problem or that underlying reason that they turn to a life in crime. From there, I moved up here to Mount Pleasant in 2014 to work for a law firm in town. I'm the marketing director for Richardson, Patrick, Westbrook, and Brickman, which is
great
just
group of lawyers. You got a lot of fun, a lot of very committed teammates.
Yes, they are. They are, very democratic. I approached them about running for the office, and they were incredibly supportive. And I couldn't be more thrilled at where I work and the work that we do in the community and across the nation. Other than that, I've spent about 11 years on criminal justice reform. I'm in my 4th year on the South Carolina Coalition Against Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault. Just up till last year, I was on the
Which is
Charleston County.
for those in the biz. SCADVASA.
Yeah, SCADVASA. You know, we had a big debate. It's such a weird acronym that there was a lot of us in favor of actually changing the name, but we ran into problems because the legislature knows us as SCADVASA, and we don't want to go through that learning curve again. Other than that, I've been on the Charleston County Criminal Justice Coordinating Council here locally, which is basically every stakeholder in our local criminal justice system. We bring them together into one room. We've got a MacArthur Foundation grant, and we're using that to try to change the way that we are using our county jail. We are, trying to reduce the number of bookings to the jail. That's not to say that it's light on crime. It's just a recognition that not everybody needs to go to jail. There's other ways that we can address crime. A lot of people that are booked, unfortunately, are people who suffer from mental issues or substance abuse issues. And so what this group has done is it's partnered with the hospitals to create a community triage center, which gives police officers an additional option. Instead of taking somebody to jail automatically, they can take them here. There's professionals 24/7. There's security 24/7. We can sort of stabilize them and figure out what their true needs are.
I will use this opportunity to beg for forgiveness of Charleston County taxpayers. I think we made a dreadful mistake on county council by building 4 stories of a jail and being convinced that that was the way to go, because the 4th floor has now been empty for however many years it's been, 6 years, 8 years since we opened it. And MacArthur's money has allowed CJCC to be very creative and thoughtful and coming up with better ways to address crime in our community. So thank you for y'all's tremendous work on the CJCC.
I think that it's a great group. I think it just pays to get everybody in the same room. I think that's half the battle right there. It allows us to put everything on the table and talk about it rationally and plan and make sure that everybody's on the same page, rather than having everybody sort of in their own little fiefdoms without recognizing what the big picture is. And with the CJCC, it does a lot of work, but there's still additional things that we need to do before somebody turns to crime, and then also on the flip side after somebody does. I think that we've got a terrible problem in our prisons here in South Carolina. It shouldn't be a surprise to anybody given the riot at Lee Correctional a year ago. And we really need to recognize that more than 90% of the people that we're sending to prison are going to be back out on the streets with us. So what can we do while they're in prison or while they're in the court system to stabilize them and give them the tools that they need, that they can come back and be productive members of our society? And that's a huge issue. I'm not sure that there's a silver bullet answer to it, but it's something that I feel passionately about, and something that I'm going to work hard to address.
Yeah, I've been a family court attorney now this is my 18th year. And while there are definitely some people who go to jail due to family court matters because of true contempt for the law, but a lot of times it's financial issues that get exacerbated and then create problems, both for the payor of child support, and certainly the payee of child support is struggling when the payor was laid off work. But jail usually isn't the solution to get someone current on their income payments.
No, I would think it would actually set people back. It's hard to earn money that you can pay in child support when you're locked up. I read in the paper the other day that South Carolina is the 2nd state in terms of the number of people that we're sending to prison or jail for possession of marijuana. Second in the whole country. It's just, it's ludicrous to me. I think that, you know, we can have legitimate arguments about what we want to do with respect to marijuana and other drugs. You know, whether we can argue, does it make sense to decriminalize it, or does it make sense to legalize it and tax it? There's legitimate differences there, but I think we can all agree that it makes zero sense, zero financial sense to take these people and lock them up in jail and prison. It's just, it doesn't make sense at all. It's something that I think that we really need to address. You know, here in Charleston County, where we're pretty progressive, you know, we give officers the option when they come across somebody with marijuana or a small amount of marijuana to just give them a ticket. Even with that, we can look at who's getting booked in our jails, and we can see that African Americans are 4 times more likely to be booked in our jail for marijuana than somebody who looks like me, and that's a problem.
Absolutely. And the General Assembly can do something about it.
Exactly. You know, I think that circling back to the COVID-19, this really proves that good government matters at all levels. You know, obviously we have a dysfunctional federal government right now that's run by people who don't believe in federal government. But we've got some similar issues here in South Carolina. You know, if I'm elected, I'm going to be one of 124 people in the state House of Representatives, and those people come from all areas of our state. They have all kinds of political opinions, some good, some of them are good people who really believe and are trying hard. Some of them are, you know, maybe not as committed to putting together good government. But it really does impact people in every facet of their life, and it's so important that we recognize that these local and these state level elections have drastic consequences to our way of life.
Daniel, I know we're going to work hard in the Democratic Party to get either you or your primary opponent elected. I think you've got amazing ideas. We talked about a few various things here. We talked, of course, about COVID-19. Are there other priorities that you want to share with our listeners today?
Absolutely, absolutely. I watched intently with my opponent, David Quick, on Earth Day, and he's absolutely right that the environment is perhaps our #1 issue here in District 112. You know, we've got a lot of issues with the potential for offshore drilling. I think that somebody like myself could play a big role in staving that off at the state level. You know, people don't necessarily think of all the onshore infrastructure that's required for offshore drilling. And maybe we're not able to control the waters that are so far off of our coast that the federal government does. But what we can control is what goes in along our coast. And we need to make it so incredibly onerous to get the approvals to put anything related to offshore drilling on our shores. I think that we can do that at the state level and just make it practically and financially impossible for oil companies to operate here in a profitable manner.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, there's other issues with our environment. I believe in climate change. I believe humans are the cause of climate change. I think it's happening right before our eyes. You know, we can see that the sea levels are rising. We can see that it floods here even, you know, when it's not raining. We can see that our hurricanes are strengthening, and they seem to occur every year now. There's just I don't think there's room to be a climate science denier in our government right now. And we need to send people who believe in science to Columbia and to Washington so we can, you know, address it. There's no sense in arguing about it anymore, I don't think. I think we can see the real world consequences to it, and it's time for action. And I really applaud David, my opponent, for his work with environmental issues. And I would say that he and I probably agree on most of those issues as well. But my hat's off to him for his commitment to it.
I would tell you that I think that the constituents of House 112 will be lucky to have either of you. And
Well, thank you very much. It's sort of a terrifying experience, you know, I'm putting myself out there. I've never run for office before, but I have, you know, intently followed the issues. I'm trying to think back. The first time I appeared at a town council meeting, I think I was about 16 or 17. And I was there to fight for water quality in a stream that was near the school that I went to. So it's I've definitely always cared about the environment and the political process. I come from a long line of Democrats. Both my parents are Democrats, and then sort of one whole branch of my family tree has been Democrat since, you know, the early 1900s.
awesome. Well, if people want to learn more about your campaign, Daniel, or get in touch with you, what are the best ways to do so?
Sure. The best way is danielbrownstein.com, and you can call me on my cell phone. It's listed right there at the bottom of the web page. I'm happy to talk to anybody at any time, and there's just so many issues that are before us right now that I think it's going to take somebody that has a wide breadth of experience and knowledge, and somebody that can, you know, work with people on both sides of the aisle to get things done. I don't think that we need somebody that's, you know, a super pure Democrat or a super pure Republican. We kind of need somebody in the middle that's going to be able to corral people along sort of a common cause. And you know, I think that we can do that with these issues, with COVID-19. We can do it with the environment, with education, which is a huge issue for me that we haven't had a chance to discuss. You know, my kids are in the public school here in first and second grade, and we're very blessed to have high-performing schools throughout this district. But there's also, you know, the PTA at my school has to raise money each year for reading interventionists. It has to raise money for the STEAM program, the computer lab. And, you know, we're fortunately able to do that in this district. But that's what I would consider, you know, a basic component of our education that needs to be funded either at the local level or the state level. And, you know, if we're raising money for reading interventionists here in Mount Pleasant, what's happening in Hampton? What's happening in Allendale, Walterboro? You know, it's just very sad what we're doing to our state's kids. And it's unconstitutional. You know, we've been told we need to address it. We need to address it. And this year, the legislature is going to, you know, they're going to finish their term without passing an education bill, without listening to our teachers. And that is mind-boggling to me. You know, we've got this grassroots effort that we need to raise teachers' pay. We need to, you know, limit the size of the classrooms. We need to show them that we have their back by giving them a teacher's bill of rights. And what's our legislature going to do? Nothing.
Well, I'm really hoping next year that y'all will be able to make significant progress. Because you and I both know that that in this pandemic, our kids are struggling even more, because even if a parent is home and has the time and ability to help, it's not the same education as being in a classroom. And that divide between those who are already struggling academically is just going to grow significantly over these few months.
It really does impact all facets of our life. You know, we're struggling, Pam, my wife and I are struggling to keep our kids engaged and, you know, keep them learning new materials. And the teachers have been great. You know, I've always respected teachers, but I respect them, you know, a million times more, right. Seeing how they're adapting to this new reality. But, you know, there's also a lot of mental health issues that are going to crop up as this. I hate to think, and this is a cause that I'm very involved in, what's going on with women who are in abusive relationships right now.
Right.
They're trapped in their house 24/7 with somebody who's beating them, and there's no way for them to get out. It's just, you know, this this pandemic really has exposed a lot of the deficiencies in our society, and it really does give us I think, a once in a generational opportunity to confront these challenges head on. You know, America's not dead. South Carolina's not dead. We're going to, you know, be renewed, and we're going to be better for it
Right.
when we come out the other side. At least that's why I'm running for office.
I agree, and I think that's a great place for us to wrap up. We've gone to a lot of topics today. If you want to get in touch with Daniel, he shared the information, and the link is right here on the Facebook page, so you can find out more about Daniel, and we look forward to keeping in touch throughout the year. Thanks for running.
Yeah, make sure to vote June 9th or vote absentee. VoteBlueSC.com. Easy way to do it. Frees up the polls, so there's not going to be big crowds on election day. But I really would appreciate people to come out and vote, whether it's absentee or whether they prefer to go to the polls. And definitely, if I can answer any questions, go to my website, hit me up on my cell, and I'm happy to talk to you anytime.
Great. Thank you, Daniel. Everybody have a great afternoon.
Thank you for everything you do.
Absolutely. Have a great day, everyone.